Hello, Emanuel Shahaf.
Hello, hello.
Let's talk about the Jewish or the Israeli identity. From your perspective, Hawara, what is happening with the settlers? What is happening with the Israeli army? What is your perspective? How did that occur?
What is happening is that the settlers who were kept under control under previous governments have now basically joined the government. There are two major representatives from the settler community. It's Smotrich and Ben-Gvir. So they feel free to do what they want to do.
And one of them said that Israeli army should erase.
Yes, Smotrich said the Israeli army should erase Hawara. So the settlers are trying to do that. And this is, of course, a terrible situation that Israel is in now, because at the same time we have this constitutional crisis, which hasn't been resolved yet and will not be resolved for quite a while. And at the same time the army has to take care of the settlers, which are in the government, which makes it difficult. So this is a severe crisis which plays out for everybody to see and for the world to chip in.
The ground roots of the Israeli occupation in the territories, do you think it is solvable right now?
Well, right now it's not solvable, right now, but the situation, the way it's coming to fruition, and the increasing problems with security we have there, and the settlers going on a rampage, makes it impossible for us to leave it by the side eventually. We will have to deal with it. It hasn't been dealt with for many years. Actually, it hasn't been dealt with for 55 years in a proper way. And the present constitutional crisis makes it difficult for us to deal with it. Even, we just don't have the bandwidth to deal with such a problematic conflict, the constitutional crisis, and at the same time with the occupation. But we will have to deal with it, and what's happening is helping to remind us, because the denial has always been there. It'll be much more difficult to leave it by the side.
As a former member in the Israeli Air Force and in the Israeli Mossad, you're seeing, reading your friends that are saying, well, this is not the democratic deal that we sign on. We are not going to be part of these units serving under a dictator. What is your perspective when you're hearing that?
Well, first, I'm very happy. I'm happy and proud of all those who stand up and who are not willing to, already potentially not willing to serve any kind of government that will come after these legislative efforts have been completed.
Surprised?
Not really. I'm a little bit surprised at the breadth of the events. I didn't expect so many units to join. You can always count on the pilots to go first, but I didn't expect so many other units to join, and I'm happy about that. It's just an indication of how bad the efforts of the government are. The problem being, of course, that I would have been happy if more would have been protesting earlier, also about the occupation. And that happened in 2003, but also not at to the extent it's happening now. So I think the Jewish community is more concerned about the Jewish community than about everybody who is under our sovereignty, and that's something we have to remember.
Do you think that the chief forces, the head of the Israeli army, of the Israeli Mossad, of the Israeli Shabak, at the end of the day, if they will have the opportunity to decide, we're hearing the last decision of the Israeli Supreme Court or the Israeli government, who do you think they will choose?
They'll stick to the Supreme Court. No doubt that they'll stick to the Supreme Court. And
why?
Because for two reasons. First of all, because that's the contract they signed up under. Okay, this is a democracy, and they know that the Supreme Court needs to have its independence in order for this to be a democracy. So this is the contract they signed up for, and the other thing is for their own self-protection. Because if at the moment the Supreme Court is not cannot do judicial supervision anymore. They are exposed abroad for whatever happened here during the occupation, and none of them want to be exposed to other legal proceedings.
Let's talk a bit about the Israeli economy. What do you think is going to be the borders of the collapse of the Israeli shekel?
Well, I think what's happened, the economy will call the shots in the end. In the end, the government will cave in because of the economic influence. The impact is considerable, and not only do hundreds of economists and experts from all over the world, recently Bloomberg and Nurli Rubini, and who not, is chipping on, and Jacob Frankel, who chipped in and said that this is detrimental to Israel's economy. It is clear it is, and the slide has already begun. So the government, if the government doesn't realize it'll continue to do tremendous harm to Israel's economy. And
so you're saying basically that the startup nation couldn't allow itself, because it's needed money in the bank account of the state of Israel, basically couldn't allow itself that the startups will go overseas to America or to Europe.
Well, the problem is that the government basically doesn't have any control what's happening. Okay, the economy today, the economy is a global economy, and when they see something is going the wrong way, they just go away. And not only do they go away, which is one part of the thing, they also don't come. Okay, which is another big problem. So this is going to play out, I think, very shortly, because the impact has already been felt by too many elements in the economy, and so the government will have to react. And I think the only reaction possible is to cancel this legislation. Unfortunately, there are no signs at this time.
So but let's talk a bit about politics. The president is offering any kind of path that he invites the two sides to try to sign and to agree. Do you think it has any leverage?
I don't think the president has any leverage. I think it's a distraction. It's not something which is really relevant. I think the proposals the president supposedly has fielded aren't really relevant, aren't a real alternative. And I think the government is going for full speed for a collision, and we'll see what happens.
And maybe some moderate Likud members that at the last minute of
there are a few members of the Likud, Yuli Edelstein and Dani Danon, and maybe a few others who understand that this is going completely off the rails. And they probably will not. They possibly will not join the government in the vote, if it comes to that. I hope it doesn't come to a vote, but we can't be sure.
Do you know, every time that we're talking together, we're looking for an upside. Today it's a special holiday, Purim. It's a special, happy holiday. Anything happy that you're visualizing, seeing?
Well, I think people are becoming aware of how close we actually are to losing our democratic regime. I think that people understand they have to stand up. I think the fact that so many of them are doing that is a very good sign. And I think people are becoming aware of the fact that we have to deal with the problems of Israel on a wide scale, not only on the single things which bother us right now, like the legislation, but we also have to deal with the occupation and our relations with the Palestinians. So we're in for a major overhaul or major change, and that's something to look forward to, because I can only envision a positive change.
And while talking about positive change, last sentence about the federation.
Yeah.
How the federation plan, few books and the lectures engage to what is happening in Israel?
I think the only way a multifaceted population like we have here in Israel, between the Jordan River and the sea, can live together in peace and equality is in a federal system. And I think people are beginning to realize that, and more and more people are hearing about federation, and we continue to work towards that and spread the word. So federation will come to fruition as the sooner the better.
The identity in Hebrew, in English, in Arabic. Emanuel Shahaf, people that want to be part of the community.
On Facebook. On Facebook, Emanuel Shahaf, or Identity, the Quest for Israel's Future. I'm there.
Emanuel Shahaf, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.